So I'm here with Ron Kormanek from Checkmarx, VP of Sales at Checkmarx. Why don't you tell us, Ron, what it is that Checkmarx does?
We scan source code for vulnerabilities. Again, any application like your iPhone or your Android, those applications that are on there, we search them for vulnerabilities that can be exploited by hackers.
Great. Crisp. So I guess just like our previous interview here, the Americans have it crisp. There are quite a few players in this space. I think we see a few actually in the audience here, some competitors. How do you differentiate yourselves from the competition?
We can actually scan the unbuilt code. So as the developer is developing, he can be scanning the code for vulnerabilities and not wait to compile the whole code before he actually scans it. This allows him to find the vulnerabilities quicker in the scan, and it allows him to correct them. So when he gets to the finished product, there's not much more to scan anymore.
Great. So maybe you could take us through a case study or a use case. What does your customer base look like? Who are your customers?
So we have about 700 customers today, anywhere from the Fortune 10, the Microsofts, the GEs, all the way down to the single developer. There's a lot of contractors out there that are farmed out by larger companies, and they actually work to scan the code that way. A use case is it could be Microsoft developing some kind of application, and they feed the application through our engine, and we scan it for vulnerabilities, help them remediate the vulnerabilities, so when it actually does go on the either whether it's web facing or it's being used by someone that the exploits are found and they can't be exploited, I guess, by the hackers.
Can you maybe, so on the customer base, are there verticals that you focus on more?
It's the whole enterprise. So it could be anyone from, like the Fortune 10, but we do verticals with the education, healthcare, manufacturing as well.
Great. Maybe you could tell us a bit about the company, how long you've been around, where you're based?
We're based in Tel Aviv. We were founded in 2006. It came two co-founders, Emmanuel Benzaquin, he's our CEO, and Mati Simon. Mati actually came from the Israeli military in the intelligence space, and he developed this project, or the product, based on some work he had been doing in the Israeli military. So we've been around since 2006, 700 customers, like I had said before.
I guess a question that has been coming up here is what is it that we're trying to achieve here today?
Visibility. We've only been in the U.S. from a sales standpoint for 9 months now. We're now up to 7 salespeople, 3 engineers, and a channel person. I guess today is just more brand awareness. We have 700 customers. Most of our customers are in APJ and EMEA right now, not necessarily in the U.S.
I'll open it up to questions, if there are any questions from the audience.
Yes.
Is your software usually purchased in the larger enterprise as an enterprise deal, or you come in with different groups within?
Yeah, so I was just talking about one customer today. They're on their 13th order with us. They're buying at 30 developers at a time. We would prefer, my salespeople are in the room, they prefer to sell the big enterprise deals, selling 2,000, 3,000 developers at a time, but it can go either way. So what it normally is, we almost call ourselves the next generation in code analysis, because we want the developers to adopt the security aspect of developing, and that's something that hasn't been prevalent in the past.
So can a developer just go online, swipe their card, and
Not yet. Not yet. That's something we're looking to get into.
So you come in at who do you sell to then at the enterprise?
Security or the development team. What language do you want to know what we do? We do, there's 20 languages. Tell me. Java, C, C++, Ajax, Python. Is there something in particular? There's 20 languages. We're actually, from a competitive standpoint, we handle more languages than anyone else. Oh, in the back.
So this may be a little technical, but the difference between detecting a vulnerability versus a breach is that one has actually happened and easier to detect, whereas vulnerability is something that may, at the face of it right now, does not seem like a vulnerability, but to a new type of attack would be. How do you guys cope with the fact that attacks keep getting different and better? How do you foresee what's going to be the next type of vulnerability?
So what we do is we actually look for the vulnerabilities in the code that's being written, whether it's a SQL injection, and I may get a little technical here, a buffer overflow, something that can be exploited by a hacker, which would then become a breach. So we're trying to find the vulnerability, not trying, we're finding the vulnerabilities and helping the developer remediate them so they can't be exploited by a hacker. I don't know if that answers your question. So hacking is, again, the reason a hacker gets through is there's a vulnerability in the code or the application. And he finds that vulnerability and he exploits it for whatever, takes it down, steals information, whatever. We're finding those vulnerabilities before they even come on the wire. Close enough?
Do you work with open source repositories, like for if I'm a developer and I want to get known good open source and have it validated before I use it?
Yeah, we do. We do. So it depends what language you're writing in, but yeah.
Just an extension on that, can you guys detect GPL? Like, we don't want any open source? If the developer is lazy and grabs some open source off of that?
We can answer. Actually, we could set up a query to identify that. We can. That's not going to be an out-of-box thing, but we would set up a query to identify that.
Do you also scan for financial vulnerabilities like PCI?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do with we actually have queries that are set up right out of the box. PCI is one of them. So you would choose the PCI standard that you would want to scan against, and it would scan for all PCI vulnerabilities that are known. Any other questions?
What have you found that Ash, the recent vulnerabilities that were recently mitigated with Ash and Poodle and all the nodes, things that take a lot of our security team managing?
Yeah, what's happening is, and this is one thing that Checkmarx is trying to do, the developer wants and the business wants to get those applications out as quick as possible. The security team wants them to scan them for vulnerabilities. What we're trying to develop is to make the developer adapt to using security to make sure that his applications are correct. That's what's happening. When these breaches are occurring, they're not scanning the code for vulnerabilities before they get out there.
But this code is like 20 years old and those vulnerabilities.
So it depends on the language. You know, there are some languages that just aren't readily scanned because it's to create a language could take 6 to 9 months to actually put a language into an engine.
It's also about 0 days.
It's also about 0 days as well. Someone asked me the other day, they said, well, if Adobe comes out with a new product today, you know, it's us versus the hackers to find the vulnerabilities in that product. Or Adobe, obviously, to find the, as an example. I know Adobe may be in here. Any other questions?
Just a follow-up on the last one, which was a while ago, that say there's a new vulnerability found that you weren't aware of before, and you've already got code that's been scanned and out there. Can you rescan it?
Yeah, we do. We do. So we can load the new vulnerabilities into the engine, and the engine will find, you can feed the apps back through again.
So just to understand more clearly, basically the product is based on you knowing the vulnerabilities ahead of time in order to be able to scan for them.
Well, we know what's there, and I could get more into it, but we know what buffer overflows look like. We know what SQL injections look like. So there's a list, and I have a brochure here for anyone that wants it after, of about 20 vulnerability types that we search for. None are exactly the same. They're just categories, and we search for those in the applications.
Great. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much.